What's up guys, Larry Chen here. Welcome to Hoonigan Autofocus. Today we're focusing on an E36 drift car, specifically a Formula Drift car driven by Rome Charpentier. A lot of people, as soon as they see it, they're like, so what is it, Rome Carpenter? Charpentier? It's, is it French or?
It is French, French-Canadian. So technically my father is Canadian and my mother's Australian.
Oh,
so
cool.
Kind of European, I guess, in the end.
Well, we're at Grid Life. What do you?
NOLA? NOLA.
No. Okay, so we're at Grid Life Bayou Bash.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah, you're right. Bayou Bash. Is it?
Is it Bayou
Louisiana Bash or something?
Yeah, something like that. Okay.
Somewhere at Grid Life Bayou Bash.
So we're at Grid Life. This is New Orleans Motorsport Park, NOLA. Beautiful facility, but this is actually a first here. This is a first Grid Life. And I'm actually excited to see, I guess, what the local area has to offer in terms of cars. But also I'm excited to see you drive this on a kart track. You could basically pick your line, pick where you want to drift and how you want to drift. And are you actually going to compete in this event today?
I believe so. I'm not sure what events are going on. I think there's like a tandem drift or a double drift. There's like a 3-car competition timed event. So yeah, I'm not sure what's going on as far as all the events, but we're gonna compete in whatever we can. I mean, we came to have fun, so. So
who's your team? Who are you gonna drive with?
I don't know. We didn't know about this event until a week ago at Formula Drift when we got invited to come down. So okay. It was kind of a last minute, like, hey, you wanna drive? You're only 6 hours. I was like, all right. Well, me and the wife, we've never been down here. We figured, all right, let's go find an Airbnb or something, go have fun in New Orleans for a couple days, and then we'll come over to the racetrack.
Yeah, no, I like that. So then it's gonna be like in grade school where you have to like pick your team. You know, you have to like walk through the paddock and then pick the people that you want to drive with, because the difference between this and Formula Drift is you're actually not trying to run away from each other.
Yeah, you're trying to have fun. It's all about, it's kind of the same as FD. I mean, it's all about entertainment, and it's all about a good show. Right,
but here you actually work together to drive well and drive close versus trying to run away from each other. But I wanted to talk to you about your E36 BMW drift car for a while now. And you know, since you debuted this car, some interesting life-threatening or I don't know even how to put it.
Some unique experiences.
Yeah, unique experiences happened to you. So tell us what happened to you on the way to the opening round of the Formula Drift 2020 season?
So 2020 season would be my rookie season. It is my rookie season, actually. And we left with super high hopes. We're like, we're gonna kill it. We're gonna go out there and do our best. Obviously, we're driving against amazing, phenomenal drivers, so we knew we had to step it up. And we really kind of got the trailer, the truck, got the rig, got everything all perfect, really how we wanted it, just wrapped it and painted it freshly about 3 weeks before we left. And we were driving to St. Louis, which is round 1 for Formula Drift this year. And about 22 hours in, I started to get tired, let the wife take over. She drove for another couple hours. And then I ended up waking up to like crazy kind of shaking and then flipping. And we actually ended up flipping the truck and trailer a couple times. I didn't know at the moment what happened, but as we were going, the wife, they pushed her, kind of the whole construction zone pushed her off to one side of the road. And then they had cones down the middle. There was a white K-rail in the center of both lanes, and cars were going both ways down there by Gillip, New Mexico. And as we're going, they pushed her, the truck and trailer off, so like the right side of the truck and trailer was off the little rumble strip part. So it was kind of hanging one side and the other side, and it was fine for about 5 miles, she says. And then the cones ended and pushed her back up into the lane. And when they did, the right 3 tires on the trailer kind of hung off to the side. And as it did, it basically initiated her up into the lane. And when it did, the back of the trailer hit the K-rail, which now made the thing kind of scissor together with each other. And she was unofficially manging down the freeway with the truck and trailer rig, hit the center, went up in the air a little bit, went to the right. And when we went to the right, the guardrail went through the truck. So 14 feet of guardrail went through the truck. And it went through right underneath my seat in the back where I was sleeping. As it did, it crammed the seat to the roof, which is, I think, kind of what saved me, but crammed me to the roof, and then we just started to flip. So as we were flipping, what was going on in my head as we were flipping was don't get hit, don't get hit, don't get hit, because I've only crashed on street bikes before. And I just remember like rolling up in a ball and like trying not to get hit by other cars. And that was what flashed through my head. We ended up stopping, coming up to a dead stop on our side. And then by the time I woke up, there was already people on top of the truck trying to pull us out. And I remember being all wet and I'm like, why am I wet? And realizing it was fuel. So we kind of freaked out. We had to try and get out of the bottom. They kicked out through the top. My buddy almost broke his shoulder trying to get up through the top of the car. Got him out. My wife was like coming to, got her up, out. And then as we got her out, I was reaching down because I know she didn't have shoes on, or she did, but they were gone. So I was trying to find her shoes. Then I realized it was diesel fuel. And I was like, okay, all right, this isn't too bad. Because I was worried. We had a 55-gallon drum of race fuel, sports racing fuel, in the bed of the truck. And I thought that's what was pouring out all over the freeway, so I was a little scared about that. But anyways, it wasn't that, it was diesel fuel, so I was okay. I grabbed her purse, shoes, bags, found her cell phone, which was like in 2 things, put that back together, grabbed all of it, and then we climbed up through the top. And yeah, we were out there for probably about 4 hours before they flipped it over. But we were at that moment, I came out, she was like, I'm so sorry, like freaking out about her. She was worried about destroying our dream, like together as going to Pro1 and really making it happen. And I was like, babe, it's okay, like we're alive, we can keep going, we're gonna make it. And I remember looking back and seeing my trailer upside, like 3/4 of the way upside down, and seeing the scooter sticking through the back of it. I was like, that's probably not a good sign. Like, that might.
I just feel so,
Yeah.
You know, the thing is, I feel so bad, but the good thing is, I have to say, it really brought the community together.
Very quickly.
You know, and as soon as word got out, everybody started sharing it, and everybody started, I guess, just coming together to try to help one of their own. You know, the drift paddock is so tight-knit, and it's such a good community.
It's very different.
Everyone's trying to help each other. I mean, we were just talking about this earlier before we started rolling. It's a young motorsport. Realistically, you know, how old is it really? I mean, even in Japan, I mean, professionally, no more than what, 20 years old?
Well, FIA, I think, only made it a actual sanctioned body, what, 3 years ago? So technically the sport's only looked at as professional for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Which is insane to think of.
Right, it really is. Okay, so, and I saw the photo of the guardrail that went through the back of the truck, and
Yeah.
the fact that you're sleeping on top of that, really, talk about death-defying. Like, legitimately death-defying.
I don't know. I mean, I literally woke up and I was flipping, so I don't really have too much to say on what happened, because I just remember like, and then the weird part is I jumped down and looked around, and I had to, it took me a while. It didn't even hit me right away. I had to realize, like, am I still sleeping? Is this kind of just a dream? Because I couldn't believe what had just happened. Like, I'd never seen it, I've never experienced it. Like, I could not believe that that's what had happened. That's what the new truck looked like. That's what the trailer looked like. Like, I couldn't believe that. And then we stuck a phone in through a hole that was in the side, and all I saw was everything covering the race car. I think I posted it. You can only see a little piece of the race car, and it's just covered in rims, tires, toolbox, everything's covered on the car. So I didn't know if we were even gonna be able to get a car out of there. Like, that's how bad it was.
So the crazy thing is, you made it. Somebody let you borrow a trailer.
So Jim Guthrie.
Oh, yeah.
Which I've never met before.
Yeah.
He was like, hey man, we're half an hour outside of Gallup, which is 3 hours out of New Mexico, or out of Albuquerque, and he's like, hey, I saw what happened. Dan Brockett hit me up, was like, hey, do you have a trailer yet? I'm like, no. He's like, we got a trailer on the way. We don't have a truck. You got to find a truck.
Yeah.
And someone hit me up from Enterprise and was like, hey, we can't find a truck anywhere within any range, like 400 miles of you. Keep looking around. And at about I'd say probably 8 o'clock in the morning, I get a phone call from Enterprise, and they're like, hey man, someone just delivered a truck that was supposed to go to Texas to us. Are you open? Like, if we clean it out, are you okay to wait about half an hour? We can give you this truck. I'm like, absolutely, I'll wait whatever we need. Like, let's take it. So they brought it out to us. We walked across the freeway, picked up the truck from Enterprise, went up to find our truck and trailer. And then at that point, we dragged the truck and trailer out to the street and just started unloading everything into trash bags and anything we could find. And we just piled everything into it. And then the trailer gets here, and I went from a 28-foot with full compartments and cabinets and storage units and then tire racks to store everything, right? So everything's up off the ground, to Guthrie only had a 20-foot enclosed, not even car hauler, like just a 20-foot enclosed trailer. So they put the anchors in it for me on the way to me, and then we're like, uh-oh, how are we gonna get this in? It was too steep of a ramp. I couldn't even drive the car up into it. But luckily, when the car was upside down, it like imploded the shock towers the other direction from hanging upside down so long with so much weight on it. So the car was about 4 inches taller in the front of the car.
Wait, I love the way you explain it. You're like, luckily,
Yeah.
my drift car turned into a 4x4.
It did. It was lifted in the front. We couldn't figure out why. We're like, how is the car taller now than it was when we left? But because of it hanging upside down and hanging on the shock towers, everything pulled backwards. So the shock towers got like shorter, which made the car taller. And yeah, that's the only way we were able to like drag up and get up on there. And then we just threw everything we could in the front of this thing and just strapped it off of the car and kept driving. I mean, we were at the hotel, we were even doing calculations. I'm like, okay, if I drive the race car right now, I can put it on like a lower tune, pull the pulley off of the supercharger and get better fuel mileage. We can drive this thing 17 hours. It's not that far. So we were actually committed at one point.
You were gonna street drive this
We were gonna street drive this thing the rest of the way. I mean, I was 100% committed. We're going no matter what. I did not go this far to give up now. Like, we're alive, the car runs, we're gonna drive this thing.
Even just to break the beam, just to show up, you're at the line and you put in your best effort to make your first top 32 run.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable. And you know, these are kind of the stories, like these are the motorsport stories that I absolutely love. With drifting, you guys know, I'm so thankful for the drift community. I mean, and it's such a cool sport to follow because of the fact that it's like run what you run. You know, you could essentially build any front engine, rear wheel drive chassis, and sometimes not,
Yeah.
into a drift car, and it still has like the soul of the actual car. Because it still looks, I mean, like your car, even though it's really far from a standard E36, it still looks like a E36 coupe.
Actually very close to a stock BMW. There's not much. I mean, there's suspension, there's like wise fab and some parts to make the thing function on the track. But the body's pretty much, I mean, metal body. There's some Big Duck Club like over fenders on it, but there's nothing really that modified. I mean, still like we have to run stock subframes, we have to run stock like dashboards and panels and all that, so it's not that far away from your normal everyday E36.
All right, so you got it in the trailer, you got it to St. Louis, and then it was just crunch time in terms of like repairing the car, right?
Yeah, we actually made it to, because I didn't know how strict everything was going to be, we actually made it to our tech appointment by about 12 minutes.
Huh.
So after flipping a truck and trailer and not sleeping for 48 hours, oh, so here's the other part to add to this. Driving is crazy cross country because there's a lot of things that can go on. We're driving, so after we got concussion, so they told us not to sleep. So we went we were up that night till early in the morning. We got a hotel, took showers, but we had to stay awake. They wouldn't let us sleep at all. So then we got all this situated about 9 or 10 in the morning, and then I started driving again. So I drove like 22 hours, slept for an hour and a half, started flipping, and then was awake for 14 hours and then had to drive the rest of the way to get there. I drove another about 10 and a half and I just couldn't drive anymore. And my wife, who was just in the driver's seat when the truck and trailer flipped, she drove the truck and trailer the rest of the way for me. So talk about being a trooper, she is hardcore trooper. And I think what makes it even crazier is she's from Vietnam. She was there, I think, 18 years of her life, which they don't really drive cars in Vietnam because she's in the South, so they ride scooters everywhere. So for her to take a truck and trailer rig and drive it is already crazy enough, but the fact that she got back behind the wheel after all that happening is insane. So she's totally my lifesaver for sure. She's a winner in this story.
That is awesome. And the thing is, like, how did you guys even survive? Like, how did you guys not die from exhaustion just from this crazy ordeal? You know, you guys, I just love the dedication. I absolutely love it so much. I mean, for example, anytime you watch like a interview for a race winner, right? Whether it be, let's say, whatever, 24-hour Le Mans, Pikes Peak, or Formula Drift, or any type of real like professional racing, they always kind of say, especially like also like off-road racing, Baja 1000, whatever. They always say, "Oh man, it was so hard. You know, everything went wrong. All of the." Yeah, it's not just the race winner. You know, it's literally everybody.
It's more the team than the actual driver in the end, because all we have to do is drive and get the car from point A to point B. But if everything else doesn't work and put together, there's no way to have that happen.
Yeah. Okay, so you made it to tech. What actually, aside from the shock towers, you mentioned that, what else got damaged on the car?
So basically any body damage from about wheel and higher is all from the accident. So we had to kind of hammer the hood and bash the hood back out to make it flat and fit again. The nose panel is all crunched in up top. Not too much over here until we get to the door. So in St. Louis, we lost primarily because the door came open. The side was all kind of crushed in. This actually happened in the accident with Odie at the track. So that one, not a big deal, but all the roof stuff. So all this is all caved in, and this is actually just hidden from wrap. So there's...
Oh, it's really caved in.
Oh yeah, so it's hidden.
When you say lost, you mean you were battling against Odie.
Yes.
And essentially, I think you won, right? Except for the fact that your door opened.
So the door was a deciding factor. That the rest of the run didn't matter because I lost because the door opened on the second or third turn, which I didn't notice the door open. We have now hammered it back and bent the body back inside here. You can tell where it was crunched, but we've hammered it kind of back to being able to shut. So when we were running him, the bottom of the door was flexed open because I couldn't get the door shut because the top was so bent. So that was our fault.
You can thank Tony Angelo for that. I call it the Tony Angelo rule because when he was competing, I forgot in what car, the hatch would open or the trunk would open all the time and I thought it was like kind of a fun little active aero thing, right? You know, because as soon as you got sideways, the air would rush in from the window and it would push the trunk up. And pretty much, honestly, any run, anytime this man went out, I think it was in New Jersey. It was one specific event where it kept happening and it was, I guess, such a distraction.
Well, I'm sure it looks like a dump truck in front of you, like burr, burr.
Yeah, so it was such a distraction that they actually made it a rule right afterwards. So sorry about that.
Well, it's okay.
I'm glad that you got that fixed. So now the door won't open when you're running. Was there any other damage?
The holes in the roof that you can't really tell because we tried to fill them with some vinyl, so 4 or 5 layers of vinyl, so it still stays complete. The rear window is all crunched in, so this normally doesn't fit like this. You know, normally it fits nice and flat like a window's supposed to.
Because drift car.
Yeah, exactly, because drift car. Not too much else. There's a little dent here from the tire rack coming down and smashing it. But that's kind of about it, to tell you the truth. This is all from Seattle, and this is all personal damage. Yeah, that's...
I love that you call it personal damage.
Yeah, this is all personal damage. But yeah, that was kind of about it. So the car got like everything around the trailer, how it was set up. When it flipped in its own sections. So the scooter was behind it, it flipped up this way, went through the roof and was hanging like up here when we flipped the trailer over. Toolboxes flipped across the front. And so everything just kind of stayed in its own little compartment flipping as we flipped. So yeah, it didn't get I mean, this is nothing for what could have happened to the car. Let's just put it that way.
Well, or what could have happened to you guys.
Yeah, we could have not have been there at all, and that would be the end of it. But I don't believe that's what was supposed to happen, so.
Well, you're here, you're at Grid Life, the car's here. Can we talk about the car build in itself?
Yeah.
A little bit, because I think this is the same chassis that you competed in Pro2?
This is my only chassis I've ever had.
Oh, this is the one you started drifting in?
Yeah.
So was this ever like your daily driver or anything?
No, so I had an 86 Toyota Corolla as my daily. I love the thing. We used to run like Glendora Mountain Road, all the mountain roads in the car. Love the car. A fun little Corolla car. In 2000, I think it's 2015 or 16 All-Star Bash, we showed up to the first drift event in the Corolla and realized 2 things. One, we definitely was not fast enough to keep up with anything or anyone. And I have a video, I'll post it up, of me driving down the straightaway, getting ready to go down onto Streets of Willow. You know how you can run like 120, 130 mile an hour entries?
Yeah.
I'm like in second, upshifting to third, so probably solid like, 55 miles an hour, 56, 57, slowly climbing. And I hear whoosh, whoosh. Like, it's a weird sound, car's never made that. And forced wing passes me full lock sideways in his like 2J, just kind of looks at me as he passes. One transition and a huge backy flick all the way down to the bottom, connects to track, disappears, goes out the other way, and I'm still going down the hill. I hadn't even got to the bottom of the hill yet. So at that moment I was like, probably need more power, probably needs something. So that was the first thing. The second thing is I realized the car doesn't drift very well with an open diff. I was like, why do I have only one tire fire? Like something's wrong here. So yeah, huge learning experience. I guess the third learning experience is not to show up in Willow in the winter and plan to sleep in a tent. Very cold. Yeah, I was not ready for that. I was like, I have a sleeping bag, this will work. No, it did not work. It was very cold.
I definitely could have told you that.
Yeah, well, thanks for letting me know, man. I appreciate it. Totally appreciate it.
I probably was at that event. I don't even remember.
I mean, that was my first event.
Okay, so that was your first event ever?
Yes, as far as like trying to drift, putting something together was All-Star Bash. And then at that event, fellow Aureliano had a yellow E36. And I remember climbing in this thing, he's like, dude, all you gotta do is hold your foot on the ECU so it doesn't shut off. As it gets hot, pump this thing and cool down the front, spray water on the intercooler, cool it down, we'll be good. I'm like, this is crazy. And we jumped in it, ran a couple laps, and I was sold. I was like, I wanna build an E36, like this is what I wanna build. And then I talked to Daryl Priono and Nikki, which happened to now be my spotter and crew chief, and they had an E36 with an LS in it. And that financially for me made way more sense than the turbo, big build, nitrous, all that. I was like, that seems complicated. LS seems pretty simple. I just bolted in. So we ended up looking for a BMW. I found a BMW in, I think it was January of, later on that year. Beginning of January, we found the car. I bought it for $500. It was really beat up. I bought it from a guy who probably had no business driving kind of anything, I guess, but bought it from a guy. The car was really beat up. He got really drunk or something happened, and I was gonna buy it for $1,500, but it didn't run when I got there. And he said it did run. And I'm like, well, how'd you drive it home? He's like, I don't remember. So I got it the way it was. We towed it home. The guy, like the shocks on it, the beehive style, he just cut the top off, so the beehive was beating up on the top of the shock tower. It was rough. And I went to the junkyard, kind of looked around for parts, and was looking underneath hoods and looking at the, what are they, like little battery sections where the fuses are. And I realized that their relays looked different than mine. Got home and realized that the guy got really drunk and he didn't want someone to steal it because there's no keys or anything for the car. So he swapped all the relays around, but he forgot that he had swapped the relays around. So that's why the car never ran. I got home, swapped them back to the picture I take, boom, fired up, and we're good to go. And that's, that's kind of the start to this car. So a little rough. And then our first Pro-Am event was uniquely fun as well. So we LS swapped it. We're like, we're gonna run Pro-Am. This is gonna be awesome. Drove the car up to Willow. On the way up there, the car overheated. So we pulled in traffic, we're pulling the hood off, spraying the car down, trying to cool it down with the LS in it. So it was an adventure. And when we get to there, they're like, hey man, watch this dude. This guy's an amazing driver. And it was, Trent was out there and Rob Carlson was out there. And I'm like, okay, and I pull up to the line and I'm watching. This is at concrete oval at Willow. And I look down and I remember Rob like, whoop, 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 flying down the straightaway, initiates, brakes an axle, and smashes the wall and like totals the car on the wall. And then I think to myself, I'm like, I gotta drive this thing home. Like, is that how we do this? Like, is that what we're supposed to do right now? So I was very worried, very afraid my first couple runs of Pro-Am for sure. So that was my lovely experience to that.
So now, obviously this is a lot more developed. Do you need help with this?
Probably, yeah, maybe just grab that side.
All right, so yeah, basic motor package. Okay, this is the 4x4 setup that you fixed, huh?
Yeah, so this was all, you can tell it's all painted. Yeah. So this was all hammered and bent in about, probably say about 3 inches here, which correlated to about 4 inches of ride height gain. So that's where I gained the ride height. You can tell this one a lot better. They're normally not supposed to look, see how it's kind of bubbled up and like flat here? It's not supposed to be like this. But we did a lot of ding, 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 a lot of body work trying to get it all fit. That way we can align the car later.
All right, so tell me about the motor package.
So motor package is actually very simple. It's a LQ9 that Millennium Motorsports built for us. So it's a 6.0 with a Magnuson twin scroll supercharger on it. Stock crank, pistons, rods, stock LS3 heads on it, and just a blower on it. So it's nothing real fancy. It's not a super crazy build. It's just something we built to be reliable. I'm still wet sump. It was very much a budget build.
So are you running nitrous then?
No nitrous, no nothing. Just blower.
No way.
That's it.
And you're competing in Pro 1.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't moved out of the top 32 yet, so maybe this isn't the answer. But we seem to be doing good. We're not getting gapped.
Yeah, I mean, I guess driver mod, right? That's awesome.
That's what I'm hoping. That's the cheapest thing to fix is driver mod.
Right. Okay, yeah, I mean, at least it's reliable. I mean, it survived a tumble, literally.
It survived the flip. This is actually, so Greg at Millennium built the motor for me, and this is, I had a 5.3 in Pro-Am that we ended up winning both championships with. And that was a 5.3 out of a junkyard that we pulled. We don't even know the miles on the thing. I put a cam in it and we sent it. I think it made like 350 horsepower, and we won both Pro-Ams in 18 back to back with that motor. And actually the crazy part with that is my very first win was 2017. So we drove the car, we got an invite to an event like this that Nick Swan invited us to, which is LS Fest West. We didn't have a tractor trailer at that time, so we actually drove the race car with spares in the back from California to Las Vegas. I've never qualified before ever at this point, like not qualified in anything. Got there, had a bunch of different spares that people had given us because I didn't have really money for tires. And we ended up qualifying second and then ended up winning the entire event, which is insane because there's other amazing drivers there that I still look up to this day. And we just ended up, driving the way we needed to be able to win the thing. So we went from never qualifying to being able to qualify well and to win all in one weekend. And I think we were the only person that drove the car to the event, won, and then drove the car back home.
That's like, that's like, I kind of feel like that just stopped existing in drifting a long time ago. And then now like you're bringing that back. I remember very clearly going to Irwindale and getting off the freeway, and I pull up behind my buddy Matt Powers.
Yes, Powers is awesome.
In his S14, who is flat towing it from San Diego to Irwindale. So like neon, wheels, all of that. That's actually when he got 4th place.
Oh.
Yeah. So at Irwindale, and I think he got beat by Tanner for that last spot. He would have got 3rd if Tanner didn't beat him. But it's just one of those things where, drifting was at that point at the top level, and then now you're like bringing it back essentially. But hopefully on your next build, as you progress up the ranks, you don't have to cut any corners, and then we can kind of see the true, your true driver mod.
Yeah, I mean, I actually don't have any complaints. Like, I feel like the car is pretty much perfect the way it is. It's fun, it's drivable, and it's very effective. So I just need to work on more of my driving, and I think we'll be good. I think we'll be set.
Cool. Can we talk about the interior a little bit?
So to load the car and unload the car, we take the pins out of the door, and we do that so we can remove the door to get inside the car. So he kind of got me over here before we've repinned anything. So the nice part with BMWs is you can literally lift them and unpin them. So if you wanted to see inside the car, that's an easy way to do it.
Right.
So for FD, we actually repin the door. Now we repin the door, lock the door, tape the door, anything we can so the doors don't pop open. But it's nice. BMW literally has a way you just take 2 bolts out, or a nut and a bolt out, and the doors come right off.
Huh, okay.
But yeah, this is pretty simple. They don't really make E36 fiberglass or carbon roofs. So this is off of a, what is this? A Dodge. This is it's like 64 Dodge Challenger or something or other roof that we cut down to size to make work. We are running all NRG safety equipment. We partnered up with them at the beginning of the year, and I'm extremely happy for it. The stuff's super comfy, lightweight. Other stuff is NRG. They just released the new quick release hub, which is kind of debuting. You guys will probably see it on the SEMA 360, and it's the D style. And for SFI, it's one-hand release.
Oh, wow.
To push it on, you literally just push it on.
Yeah.
And to remove it, you just pull it off.
Oh, that's super
So
cool.
it makes it nice, especially in a fire suit and Hans devices and helmets and everything else. When you're battling other things, you don't want to have to battle this. Yeah. So they also do all custom steering wheels for us. So this is kind of a cool custom like design and deal. And They made it for us and Gragistic as a collaboration piece. So their new stuff is really nice. It's really nice and big around. So as drifting, you don't get your thumbs caught in the spokes, because it's kind of dangerous if you do get your thumbs caught in there.
So what kind of transmission are you running? Because I see you have like a indicator here.
Yeah, so that's a new 6XD by RTS and SS Manufacturing. They did it. So Clay over there at SS and Rick at RTS built this 6XD, which is a 6-speed sequential. It's insane. It shifts incredibly fast. And we basically went from a 4-speed GSR top shift to carrying 2 GSR top shifts, because we wanted to make sure we had a solid trans and a backup trans in case I kind of duff one of the gears or something. And then he's like, well, I can save you room in the trailer and put something cool that feels like a video game in your car. And I'm like, you know what, sign me up, let's do this. So we put the 6XD in this year, and it's been insane. It feels legitimately like a video game. I mean, this is the shift to it, is just, that's it.
So honestly, this is probably the most fancy part of your entire car, huh?
That's more expensive than my motor and my rear end together. So yes, the transmission is the most fancy part, but I didn't want to have to carry spares. I didn't want to have to swap out trans. Once we found out we were doing double headers, the last thing I wanted to do was battle trans problems for 2 events back to back in the same weekend. And they said that they've never had anyone with any kind of failures or problems. And I was like, that sounds way better to me and my team. And it ended up actually saving money, because I sold the 2 dog boxes and then ended up buying the sequential.
So what does this dyno at then, with just the supercharger?
So we don't know. And I know that sounds really silly, but we've never got better than about 640 horsepower to the ground. We've put 5 people on the back, which I know is not safe, I apologize, but we put like 5 or 6 people on the back, strapped it straight down, lowered to 6 or 7 PSI, and we either blow the tires off the dyno or spin the tires in the rims. Mm-hmm. So we don't know, but at 4 pounds of boost, it made like 580 to the wheels, which is what we ran it at Pro1. Then now we're running 16 pounds of boost, and I imagine it makes more than 40 horsepower more. I'm sure it has to make more than a 40 horsepower difference. So if I had to guess, probably somewhere around the 9 to 1,000 range. It's probably, yeah, because
that's really good.
Well, we've ran other cars that make 1,100 horsepower and they don't pull away. So I don't know if it's a mechanical grip thing from being a BMW chassis or what it is.
It could honestly be the fact that they can't put the power down.
See,
and then you have like a feather foot where you're like on the edge of traction.
Well, and because we don't need nitrous, our full boost, we had full boost at like 2,700 RPM is full torque. Like 800-900 foot-pounds of torque at below 3,000 RPM. So once we get in it, and we're running the Achilles 123S's, they slingshot us. And people don't believe me. They think I'm lying about my numbers as far as tire pressure. But up till this weekend, we're running 25, 30, 35, even 40 PSI of tire pressure in the rear, because we'd have too much grip out of this thing. We're running almost 0 toe in the car, and literally like St. Louis, we ran, I think we were like low 40s. And Irwindale would be back up to 30 to 40 PSI as well.
While other people are running, what,
like
15? 8?
I've seen as low as 8 or 6.
It's basically like a drag race.
Yeah, I've seen 6 PSI, and you're like, your tire's flat. They're like, no, it's not. You're a newbie. You're a beginner, man. Like, don't worry about it. This is how you really run. I'm like, okay.
Oh my God. That is insane.
So, and then as far as management system, like, you're talking about back on budget, we're running the Holley dash and all the Holley stuff. And I think you can get the Holley ECU dash, harness and everything for like $1,600. It's just straight plug and play. So it makes it really easy. And if you damage anything, you can call up Holley and get a new harness for, a couple $100. So nothing fancy. I want to keep it really simple.
Yeah, we absolutely love working with Holley. Anytime we have a chance to work with them, like I was just at Mopar Fest,
dude, they're awesome.
In Bowling Green, and it's just so cool, so many cool cars, and of course LS Fest too, as always.
And something, kind of a rule I made for myself building the car is that if I can't fix it or change it in 5 minutes, I just don't put it on the car. And I see so many cars that are so overly built and overcomplicated that when you do run into a problem, nobody can fix it and no one has any idea what to do. So we did not want that problem. We wanted to make it very, very simple.
I like that. Give moderns hell.
Yep.
I like that.
So that was actually from Enzo Ferrari. He would utter that in, I guess, some of the stuff in the Le Mans races to his team about being able to go out there and beat bigger teams with bigger budgets like Ford and all these huge organizations. And they're building their Ferraris in sheds and little like carports and stuff, and they're going out there and killing some of the big teams. So that's really what we're kind of here to prove, is that, you know, you don't need to have insane money, insane backing to go out there, have fun, win, and get the job done. So driver mod is the cheapest mod.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna keep shooting you this weekend, and it's been such a pleasure for us to follow you all year this year, even though it's a shortened year. Hopefully we get to watch you drive more. Maybe I'll take a ride along this weekend or something, but it'll be really cool to get more material of you shredding.
Absolutely, and I think this is my 4th year driving, so we're kind of new to the sport, just how the sport's pretty new to the community and the world, and we're still trying to share and really inspire other people to go out there, jump in cars, and come down drifting, because it's a lot of fun, and it's kind of an inexpensive sport when you start looking at motorsports.
Well, a lot of people maybe don't realize this, but drifting got popular in Japan because of how inexpensive it is.
Yeah.
Right? So compared to like if you're gonna build like a Wangan car, right, and go flat out, go 300 kilometers an hour on the Wangan through the tunnels, on the highways, you need big horsepower, you need sticky tires, you need everything good to stay on the road and to actually be competitive, right? So anytime we go to Japan, we love going to those rest stops like Tatsumi PA or Daikoku PA. In and out all day, every day. It's Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Porsches, like super high-end cars. You don't see any drift cars there. You know where you see the drift cars? In the mountains. And they're all falling apart, and they're all like barely put together, but guess what? They could shred.
And they're having fun.
Yeah, and they're having fun.
You could take literally a stock BMW, stock E36, or a 350Z are coming down in price now for, I don't know, a couple $100, $1,000, something like that. Weld the diff and go out there and slide around. So it is relatively inexpensive, especially when you start looking at some of this other stuff like Formula One. Just add 3 or 4 zeros to our budget, and that's what they're driving on.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So
awesome. Well, I think that's a wrap. We'll keep shooting you, and we'll keep checking out Grid Life.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Have a good one. Enjoy Grid Life. See you guys soon.